All right, Rob, as we prepare for these NBA finals, obviously a lot of talk about not only this series coming up, but just past NBA champions and things of that nature, maybe even particularly big men, because the superstar of this series is a center, Nikola Jokic. And now there's a lot of talk about other great centers of the past. And Robert Horry, winner of 7 championships and a big-time shot maker in the clutch. Yeah, one of the best clutch shot makers we've seen in the NBA. He was on the All the Smoke podcast, and he said something that raised a lot of eyebrows. Here he is.
All the other teams I played for, the one common denominator was great big men. You know, think about Shaq, Tim Duncan. And if you said right now, name the top 5 big men, I played with 3 of them.
Yeah. Who's who? You play with 3 of them?
Well, Dream's number 1 by far.
Okay.
We don't like to talk. Nobody wants to talk about. I think you have these guys who are quiet. Think about it. Dream, you know, he's a really quiet guy. You can't get him to do much, to say much. So we kind of veer away from him. We don't talk about him. But to me, if you look at what he put together, you know, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP in one season, all-time leading shot blocker, you know, those things that you look at his history and what he's done for the game and how he started the game. You know, this dude didn't play basketball growing up. Went to U of H where they wanted. You think about it, we all went to college where they're going to teach you. U of H, they just rolled the ball out there and he went to work. And so I think what his body of work was just incredible. And he's just a good dude too, man. That's what you have to think about, a good dude.
Was that church, Chris, where they just agree with the speaking to? I mean, like, where's the pushback?
All that smoke was from incense, right? The incense in the church.
I mean, Chris, did you hear that interview? Not once did anybody say Shaq was one of the most dominant players in the history of the NBA. Did you
Tim
play?
Duncan got 5 rings
and could have had 6. Like, there's nothing. All the smoke. You're right. From incense or from those fake cigarettes they used to give you, Chris, when you were a kid. You remember the gum?
Yeah,
and you blow through it.
Candy. Oh,
yeah, and then the powder cup came out.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
I mean, I'm not the Dream. If you want to make a case for him, fine. But to just like because
Rob
he
wants
says
to focus on the new media. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I'm all here for it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I'm giving you the mic. No,
I
go
can't
ahead.
help it. But it drives me crazy, Chris, to hear these interviews where there's no like give and take or pushback or really. Matt Barnes can't say over Shaq. Like if that was said on our show, I don't care who.
What about Shaq?
We would have said, what about Shaq? Are you kidding me?
And then make him tell me why. I don't want to hear about Houston and rolling out the balls.
And that he didn't play before.
Right.
He didn't play college ball or whatever it is. I mean, he didn't play. He didn't learn to play
Before
until late in life.
Right.
Exactly. I don't want that. No.
Why is he better than Shaq?
Shaq was unstoppable. Chris, go look at the numbers. He had in the postseason. They were ridiculous. Really?
Look, I agree that you yes. Look, here's the deal with the new media, Rob, and tell me if you disagree. And this is the players. And you look at the top podcasts, a lot of them are former players, and I'm happy for these guys. More power to them. What they're great at is obviously they get a lot of former players. So the access, because they're former players, they get former or current players who will go on there, feel more comfortable with them. You see the players acting more comfortable, like they really, their real selves. They're not putting up a front. They're not saying the right thing like you might do with the media. That is great. But and you get them to talk, because they're comfortable, you get them to talk about different topics. That's, to me, Rob, the major strength. And there's a place for that. There's a place for that. But you need everything. So if that's all there was, you really wouldn't be getting, great debate or pushback like this. Okay, Robert Horry can say that.
What?
But if we were to push back on him, now you're really going to bring it out. Okay, why was he better?
And give him right.
And maybe you might show him. Well, he might end up. Well, look, I I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying I like Hakeem better. You know what I mean? Whatever. He
Rob
might
G,
end up giving up.
You have some of the comments. What they
Yeah,
say?
so the
So
full,
they did push back?
The full episode doesn't drop till tomorrow, so we don't know the full response.
Okay.
But the video that they posted on the Showtime Basketball Twitter page, which shared the clip, it has Stack and Matt Barnes afterwards, Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes afterwards, and their only response that they show in the clip is, "And you played with him and won with them, so your opinion is valid. You got to respect that." That's the only response.
And you can say that, but say, look, I think it's Shaq. And again, why, since he's your guest on your show, why do you think that?
Chris, who do we have on that said
Channing Frye that started running?
Rob G, you remember that too?
Yeah, he still won't come on our show.
Okay, and that's fine.
Still.
But that's
If
fine.
he really won't come on?
He doesn't
or-
respond to my texts at all.
No, Chris, we undressed him. We worked
Right,
we
we
worked
pulled
him
up
over
that
like
skirt.
a burger and small fries. I mean, but my point is, if you're gonna come on and make a statement like he made, which is fine,
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
ready for pushback and then respond, debate us.
Right,
That's all we're asking.
right. And I, look, the thing is, if you are that comfortable with a guy, you should be able to say that. Right? I mean, you should be able to follow up with why?
And,
Really?
and Rob G, you know
You
this
think
too.
Hakeem was better than Shaq and Duncan?
You've been offered some guests that said that they don't want to talk about certain things. And what do you tell them?
No, thank you.
No, thank you, Chris. We're not doing that kind of show.
Yep.
No, thank you.
To get to the crux of the issue, look, Olajuwon was incredible. He was and I remember him in college, Rob. I'm sure you do too. Phi-Sigma Gamma. Hakeem Olajuwon. At that time, it was Hakeem. And Clyde Drexler, Larry Meeshaw. Remember that? Mr. Mean, Larry Meeshaw. Benny Anders. I mean, I remember all those dudes.
Man, Benny Anders, Chris. I haven't heard that name in a million years.
Alvin, who was the guard? Was it Alvin Young or something like that? I mean, they had a squad. Broke my heart when they lost to NC State the way they did. But these are all phenomenal. Three of the best centers in the history of the game. I think Duncan was the best. And I think Shaq was second. And I think Hakeem was third. Duncan, Rob, we've talked about it. I mean, he mentioned that, Hakeem was Defensive Player of the Year and Hakeem was 9-time All Defense. But Duncan was a 15-time All Defense. 15-time All NBA as well. Won 5 championships, Rob, without. Now, Hakeem won his first one without a second star. He had Sam Cassell and Kenny Smith and guys like that. And then Drexler came along and they won the second championship. But Duncan never had a Kobe. Shaq won all his with Kobe or Wade. Duncan never had one of those guys. So I would go with Duncan and then Shaq. And Shaq was just, his size was so imposing. He was a lot bigger than Hakeem. And but there are a lot of people that pick Hakeem over Shaq because Hakeem demolished Shaq, by Shaq's own admission, demolished him in the 1995 finals, Rob. You remember that. They swept him, and he really took it to
but
Shaq.
if there were a couple free
And Shaq
throws there,
was
that
young.
thing would have changed, would have been a different series.
Might have.
But I get it.
Yep.
I understand. My only point is, it's okay, Chris. It's not a perfect science, but you got to have a little give and take or a conversation. That's all I'm saying. Is there
Right. No, I'm with you.
There's a conversation there to be had, and you're right. If you push the guy, he might give you even more insight, Chris, and might give you some other nuggets that might make you, because it's not about being right or wrong. My thing, and what I try to do all the time, is even if people disagree with me, Chris, they know how I got there. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I don't agree with you, Rob, but that makes sense when you say X, Y, and Z, and these things are important to you.
Yep.
That's all you can ask for.
Because everybody can have their opinion.
Right.
And when you're talking about three great players like that, no opinion is wrong. It might be wrong to me, or it might
But
be
it's
wrong
not
to
wrong,
you.
right.
But it's not wrong. Everybody can have their opinion. And those three are so great and so close in ability that you can legitimately pick any one of them. But explain it. That's what. And if you got no explanation, then say that, because that provides insight too. Oh, you think it's Hakeem, but you don't have a reason why. When they met in the finals, Rob, Olajuwon and Shaq, 1995, Hakeem averaged 32.8 points, 11.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. And Shaq averaged 28 points, 12.5 rebounds, 6.3 assists, 0.3 steals, and 2.5 blocks. I mean, Shaq was balling. Shaq shot 59% from the floor. Hakeem shot 48%. So Shaq held his own, but, Hakeem with his dream shakes and all of that stuff, was able to get his offense off on Shaq. And, but yeah, it's that's the new media. They do what they do really well. And if they add the pushback, the follow-ups, things like that, they'll be that much better.